Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We always like to try to make it on time so that we can be mindful and respectful of your time. It's wonderful to see the turnout. I wish we had more, but we always welcome as many people as we could possibly get to these. My name is Teresa Klepak, and I'm a member of the Syntax 912 project here in Cedar Park. And I'd like to introduce you to Maria Costa, who's in the audience. Maria is the founder of the Syntax 912 project, and we appreciate all the hard work and effort she's put into this over the years. Maria, you are making a difference. Thank you. We hope that by attending these forums, you'll have a better understanding of how the candidates feel on certain issues. So we'll not be taking questions from the audience tonight, but we hope that you can stay after the candidate forum at 8 o'clock when you'll be able to meet and greet with the candidates between 8 and 8:30. So we start at every one of our meetings with a prayer and then a pledge. So if everybody will rise and bow your heads, we'll start the prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all together tonight. It is such a blessing to be able to have the freedom to vote for the candidates of our choice, something that we as Americans sometimes take for granted. And Lord, please watch over the candidates in the forum tonight. We ask that you bless them for their willingness to be public servants. Help them to have good, healthy debates over the issues, and may the best person for the job prevail. But regardless of the outcome on election night, we appreciate all of their efforts to keep Cedar Park a place that we all want to work, play, and live in. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And then the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then the state pledge.
I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
That's the shortest pledge, but it's got the hardest pledge. I had a hard time remembering it. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce you the candidates. So what we have for place one, we have the incumbent, Lisa Mallory, and her challenger, Trish Bodie. For place two, we have Don Heisel. And Don's challenger is Kabi Caputo.
Well done.
So now I'd like to introduce you to our moderator. Lori O'Leary is the Secretary of State Elections Administrator Manager. In this position, Lori works with elected officials at the state, county, and local levels to ensure the integrity of the elections. In her 3.5 years, she's been responsible for 27 elections. Please help me welcome Lori. He's doing your time and play right there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I have, let's see how many questions here. There are 10 questions, and I ask that you please stick to the issues and refrain from any personal attacks. The first question, when I ask the question, we're going to go in certain order. So it would be Lisa for response first, then Trish, and then for a minute each, and then if you'd like another minute to respond again. If not, then we'll move on to Don, and then Kobe, and then back to Don if needed. Okay.
Kabi.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Kabi.
Everybody does it.
I got Caputo.
That's the important part.
I'm so sorry. Okay, question number one.
And let me just get
Oh,
the
sorry.
question thing. So the question will be 1 minute.
Oh.
So, and I'll kind of keep time here, so I'll let you know when there's 20 seconds. And when time's up, I'll just hold this up, but don't stop mid-sentence. Just finish your thought. Just because we have a time crunch, we're just trying to limit to it about a minute. So don't stop mid-sentence.
And before we start on the questions, we'll have the introductions where you each have 3 minutes each to introduce yourself.
Okay, terrific. I'm Lisa Mallory. I am the trustee for Leander Independent School District serving in place one. I joined the board, was elected in 2009. I am honored to serve our community on the board. I think I just picked up this issue of Austin Monthly, and it's got the top 15 schools in the Austin region. We have 2 schools listed in here. Vandergrift High School would also qualify to be listed in here. They just hadn't had a freshman class in 2006. So We've got 3 out of the top 15 best schools in the Austin region. We have a district we can be proud of. I ran for the school board originally. I was inspired to run when my daughter was a senior at Cedar Park High School. And I was disappointed by the college counseling that was available to her. She was academically an achiever, and she was wanting to apply to some of the reach schools. And as I looked as helping her with her college application process, we were looking at the schools that were coming to visit, the colleges coming to visit the Leander Independent School District high schools. And the schools that she wanted to go to weren't coming to our school district. They were going to the Westwood High School, they were going to Westlake High School, and they were just overlooking us. And I thought, we have amazing teachers, we have amazing parents, we have kids who are achieving. There's something that was off. And so that was college and career readiness was one of my main platforms in 2009. If you look at the achievement of what we've done with our graduation rates, it is just a rocket ship up. Not only for our general population, but particularly I'm proud of our economic disadvantaged population and the graduation rates. We've used a lot of strategies. There might be a question, and we can discuss that later, but that's just something I'm proud of. There is an area on the school board, as I've served, where I have great concerns, and that is with the district's debt. We use a kind of bond some of you may be aware of called a capital appreciation bond. These are exceedingly expensive, and they leave the debt to my kids, my grandkids, and I'm sure there'll be a question on that, so we'll talk more in detail on that later. Just basically, I'm opposed to that kind of deferred debt. I have worked with the board, beside the board, with our chief financial officer, trying to get to a position where we can look at better strategies. And I am proud to say, after 6 years of pushing, we finally, Donnie sat on the committee to review the bond advisor, and the board has selected a new bond advisor. I really look forward to working with that bond advisor to address some of the problems that we have identified over my 2 terms on the board. I think we can find solutions, and I think my experience and understanding of that, I'm the right person to work with the school district to continue solving those.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So okay, I'm going to stand up. I can't see everybody, and I like to make eye contact. So first of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate the Syntax 912 group for putting on this forum, because I think it's really important that we educate the public about the candidates. And in the spirit of full disclosure, I did contact Teresa ahead of time and said, wait a minute, I'm a little concerned. Am I walking into a lion's den here? I mean, has the group already made up their mind about who they're going to vote for? And if so, why do you want me here? But then I realized, my hope is that you believe in the election process. And you genuinely are here because you want to vote for the very best candidate possible. So maybe instead of a lion's den, you're like lion slayers, trying to find out what's best for your community. You're fiscally minded, but you're also mindful of our children's education. And so for that, I am excited because maybe I'm participating in a game-changing moment right here, right now. And I want to thank you for inviting me to participate in that. So, to introduce myself, I am Trish Bodie. I am a wife, working mother of 2 very precious kiddos currently in the district. My oldest is in 7th grade, and she turns 13 tomorrow. And my youngest is in 1st grade. I also find time to serve, whether on LISD campuses or in the community. In fact, my husband and I took community emergency response training right here in Cedar Park. In addition to that, how else can I introduce myself? Oh yes, as I got involved with the community and being a parent of 2 kiddos, I thought, what can I do to make my community stronger? My passion for being a public servant only got more inspired when I saw what I could do. In fact, as Legislative Action PTA Chair, the Legislative Action Chair of the PTA, there we go, I was able to realize I could help and make a difference. See, my job for over the last 8 years has been in corporate communications. And a majority of what I do is I watch Texas legislation and agencies roll out policy. And in the process of that, we see how our policy impacts our community and the decisions our community makes. My husband makes a joke that only I would find a job that would fuel that passion I have for watching C-SPAN in my spare time, which I'm kind of embarrassed to say, so I'll duck a little bit for that. I do have a fascination for policy. It impacts our district. And I like to see how our district is going to respond to these decisions. I want you to know that I filed for place 1 with no hesitation on the very first day, the moment the doors opened, because I am committed. I know I can make a difference. My passion for education and with my skills, I know I can be an active voice on our board. Tonight, I expect you're going to hear discussion about restrictions that school district can be put under for the role of state or local control. Sometimes legislation is needed, but the bottom line, and the one question I want you to come back to all night long, is what keeps you in control? And my answer is transparency, transparent communication. And for that, I'm committed to transparent communication. I'm fiscally aware of responsibilities and being wise with taxpayer dollars. And we must have that financial stability. What we need is a school board member who wants to be a public servant, and I argue what you want on the school board is me.
My name's Don Heisel. I moved to the Cedar Park area in 1973. I have 2 children that went through the district, and I have 5 grandchildren that have gone through the district. In 1995, after retiring from IBM after 30 years in upper management, I was appointed to the school board. I've been on there just about ever since. I was off 1 year. A friend of mine that ran against me beat me, and I went fishing on the day that we were both on the election day, so he got me. He beat me that day too. So, but anyway, I've been on close to 20 years now, so I've seen a lot happen. I've seen a lot of growth. 3,600 kids in the district when I first came on. 36,500 now. My decisions are based solely off of the education of the kids. That's what I'm base them all off of. And I know we're going to talk about finance, and I'm ready to discuss that. But I'll tell you, what we've done over the past 20 years and how we are where we are today is keeping the kids educated in a nice facility. And even overcrowded. We opened several schools, brand new schools, adding portables to them. And it's something we don't want to do a lot because, number one, they're built for $800 for elementary, $1,200 for middle, $2,400 for high. And what you don't want to do is overcrowd those core facilities, especially when you've got a lot of UIL activities, after-school activities that a lot of kids can't participate in. So I'm here to run at least one more time because I think it's important. We'll talk more about the financial stuff, I'm sure. So with that, I'm going to sit down and let my opponent talk his piece.
Good evening, you all. I'm Kabi Caputo. I've lived here in Cedar Park since 1988. For 11 years, I served on the city council here. And I've seen the same growth that Don's talked about. The city grew just as fast as the school district did. At different times, we were the growth of the school district. We did things differently in the city. We are a lot more fiscally reasonable and prudent, I think, while still having nice things. I mean, everyone wants nice things, but you've got to have nice things that you can survive and sustain over time. I'm an attorney. I've represented school districts in Texas for 26 years. I've represented every school district in Central Texas. Round Rock, Eames, Lake Travis, Austin, Pflugerville, everybody. I've been either their trial lawyer or their general counsel. My primary job right now is at Austin Community College's general counsel. My law firm is their lawyers. And so I understand school districts pretty well. For 26 years, I've cleaned up a lot of messes. I've helped keep them out of messes. I've watched them operate. I've learned a lot of things about how different organizations operate. I'm also a professor of education law at Concordia University. I teach in their Graduate School of Education. The folks that are getting their master's degree in school administration to become principals, I'm their teacher, one class on law. and I'm the one that teaches it for them. I've taught about 300 of them now. And I start out every class the same way. I ask them why they're doing this. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to be a principal in today's environment. As a lawyer, you know, it's good for me. I've made a good living on it. But it's a difficult situation for a lot of people. So I like to hit them early and hit them often with the reality is you're taking on a very hard job, but a very important job. I got off the city council 5 years ago because my wife told me it was time to get off. And we had 2 kids in college at the time, and it's a challenge to handle all that. I have 3 children. They all have gone through the Leander schools. I have a grandson who will be starting the schools here in Leander probably in about a year. Not this coming year, but the year after, because he's a late September birthday. So I have a bit of an interest in the school district from that perspective. I will say that on the city council, and I'm on the city's economic development board as well, one of the things that we sell to businesses that want to locate here, or stores that want to come here, is the school district. It is a good school district. Over the years, it has been one of our primary focal points for economic development because of the excellence of the schools. My concerns began growing several years back as I watched how the district was handling their debt. I was on 3 of their bond task forces where they bragged often about how well they were managing their debt. You know, I come to find out later that what they've been doing is using these capital appreciation bonds. The bond task force I was on in 06, they were bragging about how they were lowering their INS rate, which is what they used to pay the bonds. Well, they were doing that by using caps. And to some degree, I feel betrayed that, you know, I was told we're a good school district, we're fiscally responsible. I went out in the community and told everybody they're a fiscally responsible school district. And it turns out they've been really fiscally irresponsible. We now have $3.5 billion in debt. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. It's going to be hard in 1-minute sound bites, so I'm going to talk a lot faster than I used to. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Thank you to each of you, and thank you for the 1-minute reminder. And we will ask the question to Lisa first, then Trish, and then if you want to come back for a minute, it's up to you. The first question. There was past discussion from the board president about the district's practice of using long-term bonds to pay for equipment and major maintenance with a life cycle shorter than the bond term. Would you propose a policy to prevent such budget practices from occurring in the future?
I think what you're talking about is that we were using long-term bonds to finance short-term equipment. I think the question was written backwards. Yeah, that was something that came up the first time that we had a bunch of routers that were going to get thrown out, and they wanted to use bond savings to pay for them, and that was money that would be repaid over 35 more years. It said, wait, how were these paid for the first time? And they had been paid for with 40-year caps. So we actually have changed our policy, and the last bonds for technology that we issued were only a 5-year term. So we don't do that anymore. That's one of the things that watchful eyes have caught.
Thank you. Trish?
Could I ask you to restate it,
Sure.
though? Because I want to know what you're asking.
Just repeat the same way. Correct?
Yeah, because I'm looking at it, I don't see a problem if it's just the way you heard it.
Okay.
There was a past discussion from the board president about the district's practice of using long-term bonds to pay for equipment and major maintenance with a life cycle shorter than the bond term. Would you propose a policy to prevent such budget practices from occurring in the future?
So, watching legislative policy, actually this is something that's coming up over and over again in hearings, that you don't want to do debt, a bond, a loan, whatever, just in general, it is not a good idea to say, oh, I want something for 40 years, I'll pay it off in 40 years, but the item's only going to last me 10 years. There's been stories of not our district, but other districts who have found themselves in a very precarious situation where they have like all this, what was the story about computer equipment, desktops, I'm not sure all the technology equipment they had, but they couldn't get rid of it because they were still paying on the bond. But the technology was old. So yes, life cycle, about how long you're financing your debt versus how long the item is you're going to get. When you put those two together, I totally agree that we need a policy as a school district that says, let's not borrow money longer than we're actually going to have the item.
Lisa, did you want to rebut?
I think,
Uh,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my understanding that we, it may not, I don't know if we've actually formally